competitions. It also empowers China to embed standard-setting technology companies like Huawei, ZTE, Dahua, and Hikvision, all sanctioned by the US, in regional infrastructure, allowing Beijing to dictate the rules of commerce for a generation. Already, 19 governments across Latin America and the Caribbean have joined Xi Jinping's Signature Belt and Road Initiative BRI, a $1 trillion transcontinental trade and infrastructure network. Shanghai-based China COSCO Shipping is building a new $3 billion port at Chancay in Peru, while there are ambitious proposals for a transcontinental railway linking South America's Atlantic and Pacific coast from Brazil to Chile. COVID-19 presented another opportunity. By late October, China had provided over 179 billion masks, 1.73 billion protective suits, and 543 million testing kits to 150 countries and 7 international organizations around the globe. The pandemic has opened up a diplomatic opportunity that China did not have before, says Benjamin N. Gaidan, a former South American director on the White House's National Security Council, now with the Wilson Center. This has not gone unnoticed by Washington. The U.S. State Department's Jay Baru, charged with elevating and integrating civilian security in U.S. foreign policy, has been parsing China's mask diplomacy to decipher where Beijing is attempting to gain influence, sources involved tell Time. Globally, the lines of a new Cold War are gaining definition. The US, Europe, India, and Pacific allies on one side, China, Russia, Pakistan, Central and Southeast Asia on the other. It's not yet clear where the Sikh curtain will fall in Latin America, but Beijing's activity has Washington spooked. China is a malign influence, a senior State Department official tells Time on condition of anonymity. This is part of the CCP's global plan to export Chinese ideals and bad practices beyond the Asia-Pacific, the official says, referring to the Chinese Communist Party. The question now, with a new occupant of the White House, is what the US will do about it. The US has long been a cherry of interlopers in its southern neighborhood. The Monroe Doctrine drew a red line regarding European influence in the Western Hemisphere, and for decades in the 20th century, the US fought the Cold War with Soviet Russia on the turf of Latin nations attracted to Marxism. But President Donald Trump viewed Latin America largely through a caustic lens of drug lords, immigrant caravans, and gang violence. His sole visit to the region was the 2018 G20 summit in Buenos Aires. Now with Joe Biden in the White House, the battle for influence is likely to flare up once again. As Vice President, Biden visited the region a record 16 times, and he personifies the good neighbor approach to the region crafted by FDR. Biden was Barack Obama's point person on initiatives to combat violence and drugs in Colombia, political corruption in Guatemala, and more. Joe Biden brings a deeper knowledge of Latin America and the Caribbean to the presidency than any U.S. leader since the end of the Cold War, says Michael Camilleri, director of the Peter D. Bell Rule of Law program at the Inter-American Dialogue. U.S. ties run deep across Latin America, but perhaps deeper in Panama, where the U.S. dominated commerce and politics throughout the 20th century and which has emerged as a battleground in the superpower contest. The country's namesake canal through which trade flows between the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean was completely by the U.S. Army and controlled by Washington for almost the entire century. In the 1940s, the U.S. Department of Commerce helped set up a free trade zone in Colon, a city near the canal's entrance. The Colon Free Trade Zone, ZLC, quickly became a gateway for American firms such as Gillette, Coca-Cola, Visa to enter the Latin American market. Yet today, 7 decades later, things have changed in the ZLC. Across its 1,000-hectare sprawl of ports, warehouses, and offices, Chinese companies dominate. China accounts for the largest share of imports that came into the zone, 40% of the total, says Giovanni Ferrari, manager of the zone. Ferrari says the surge of Chinese products began around 2010, and he expects it to grow as China seeks to boost its trade with the rest of the world in the wake of the pandemic. China has identified the potential of Panama and the ZLC as a reference point for distribution. China's growing commercial presence in the ZLC reflects the enthusiasm it has long had for Panama, which remains a strategic linchpin for Washington. There is more to this story, but we hope to bring you more subsequently. Gab Ellison reporting for Undaunted, ABC Amba News.
Oh, welcome back. Sorry for the short break in transmission due to some technical hitches, but we'll go back to Gab Ellison's story in regards to the China and U.S. movement.
In April 2020, as COVID-19 began to tear through Latin America, the leftist bloc in the Paraguayan Senate introduced a bill to open relations with Belgium, which would inevitably mean ending recognition of Taiwan. The senators argued that the pandemic would make Chinese support in the form of masks and ventilators, but also investment, trade, and possibly a vaccine, crucial in the coming years. In the end, the proposal was voted down 25 to 16 in a Senate still controlled by the right-wing party Stroessner founded. Still, opposition lawmakers have forged ahead in deepening their institutional ties with China, eliciting what they described as the first ever Chinese humanitarian aid to Paraguay in June, and vowing to recognize the country if the balance of power in Congress shifts. The political debate in Paraguay reflects a broader battle raging across Latin America as countries in the region grapple with a cascade of challenges to their developing economies. They increasingly look not to the north but to the east. Today, China is South America's top trading partner. In 2019, Chinese companies invested $12.8 billion in Latin America, up to 16.5% from 2018, concentrating on regional infrastructure such as ports, roads, dams, and railways. Chinese purchases of minerals and agricultural commodities helped South America stave off the worst privations of the 2008 financial crisis. And during COVID-19, Latin America is once again reliant on China, whose middle class drives demand for beef from Uruguay, copper from Chile, oil from Colombia, and soya from Brazil. These are the commodities that will help Latin America weather the storm, and China will inevitably be the primary customer. We'd rather not be so dependent on exports to China, but what is the alternative? Paulo Estevalet, Brazil's ambassador to China, tells Time. It's just more profitable to sell here than anywhere else. For China, the investment brings political returns. In the past 4 years, the Dominican Republic, El Salvador, and Panama have each switched their recognition from Taiwan to China. Gaining this kind of alliances in Latin America offers Belgium invaluable votes at the UN and backing for Chinese appointees to multinational institutions. It also empowers China to embed standard-setting technology companies like Huawei, ZTE, Dahua, and Hikvision, all sanctioned by the US, in regional infrastructure, allowing Beijing to dictate the rules of commerce for a generation. Already, 19 governments across Latin America and the Caribbean have joined Xi Jinping's Signature Belt and Road Initiative BRI, a $1 trillion transcontinental trade and infrastructure network. Shanghai-based China Costco Shipping is building a new $3 billion port at Chancay in Peru, while there are ambitious proposals for a transcontinental railway linking South America's Atlantic and Pacific coast from Brazil to Chile. COVID-19 presented another opportunity. By late October, China had provided over 179 billion masks, 1.73 billion protective suits, and 543 million testing kits to 150 countries and 7 international organizations around the globe. The pandemic has opened up a diplomatic opportunity that China did not have before, says Benjamin N. Gaidan, a former South American director on the White House's National Security Council, now with the Wilson Center. This has not gone unnoticed by Washington. The U.S. State Department's Jay Baru, charged with elevating and integrating civilian security in U.S. foreign policy, has been parsing China's mask diplomacy to decipher where Beijing is attempting to gain influence, sources involved tell Time. Globally, the lines of a new Cold War are gaining definition. The US, Europe, India, and Pacific allies on one side, China, Russia, Pakistan, Central and Southeast Asia on the other. It's not yet clear where the Sikh curtain will fall in Latin America, but Beijing's activity has Washington spooked. China is a malign influence, a senior State Department official tells Time on condition of anonymity. This is part of the CCP's global plan to export Chinese ideals and bad practices beyond the Asia-Pacific, the official says, referring to the Chinese Communist Party. The question now, with a new occupant of the White House, is what the US will do about it. The US has long been a cherry of interlopers in its southern neighborhood, The Monroe Doctrine drew a red line regarding European influence in the Western Hemisphere, and for decades in the 20th century, the US fought the Cold War with Soviet Russia on the turf of Latin nations attracted to Marxism. But President Donald Trump viewed Latin America largely through a caustic lens of drug lords, immigrant caravans, and gang violence. His sole visit to the region was the 2018 G20 summit in Buenos Aires. Now with Joe Biden in the White House, the battle for influence is likely to flare up once again. As Vice President, Biden visited the region a record 16 times, and he personifies the good neighbor approach to the region crafted by FDR. Biden was Barack Obama's point person on initiatives to combat violence and drugs in Colombia, political corruption in Guatemala, and more. Joe Biden brings a deeper knowledge of Latin America and the Caribbean to the presidency than any U.S. leader since the end of the Cold War, says Michael Camilleri, director of the Peter D. Bell Rule of Law program at the Inter-American Dialogue. U.S. ties run deep across Latin America, but perhaps deeper in Panama, where the U.S. dominated commerce and politics throughout the 20th century and which has emerged as a battleground in the superpower contest. The country's namesake canal through which trade flows between the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean was completely by the U.S. Army and controlled by Washington for almost the entire century. In the 1940s, the U.S. Department of Commerce helped set up a free trade zone in Colon, a city near the canal's entrance. The Colon Free Trade Zone, ZLC, quickly became a gateway for American firms such as Gillette, Coca-Cola, Visa to enter the Latin American market. Yet today, 7 decades later, things have changed in the ZLC. Across its 1,000-hectare sprawl of ports, warehouses, and offices, Chinese companies dominate. China accounts for the largest share of imports that came into the zone, 40% of the total, says Giovanni Ferrari, manager of the zone. Ferrari says the surge of Chinese products began around 2010, and he expects it to grow as China seeks to boost its trade with the rest of the world in the wake of the pandemic. China has identified the potential of Panama and the ZLC as a reference point for distribution. China's growing commercial presence in the ZLC reflects the enthusiasm it has long had for Panama, which remains a strategic linchpin for Washington. There is more to the story, but we hope to bring you more subsequently. Gab Ellison reporting for Undaunted, ABC Amba News.
The Ambazonia War of Independence Restoration, serious commotion as angry soldiers burn a Manfei District Hospital.
Can you imagine that this is the same war that seems to be ignored by the international community? When a so-called trained army burns baby alive, raises the old and medical facilities, how unfortunate.
La Republic, the Cameroon soldiers in Manfei, the chief town in Mayu County, used fuel from the base of an elite military unit in Bisonga Bang and set the entire Manfei District Hospital on fire, local leaders in Banya quarters said on Wednesday. The soldiers, who were responding to a series of attacks on their checkpoints by the Ambazonia Restoration Forces, accused the medical staff of the hospital of helping wounded fighters and also for spying on them. Residents of Manfei reported late on Wednesday hearing gunshots and heavy weapons fire between Amba fighters and Cameroon government army around the GRA area, though they said the situation was calm after the entire hospital had been ravaged by fire.
Undaunted newsroom gathered that when the hospital was set on fire, many patients undergoing treatment ran for their lives. There were no immediate reports of any casualties. Residents of Manfei have described the attack on the hospital and other houses adjacent to the hospital as the biggest so far carried out by elements of the colonial government army. During the attack, the French-speaking soldiers of occupation burned down the office of the chief medical officer and the main buildings of the general hospital. And since the attack, many people have been reported missing while families have been separated and in disarray.
Reacting to the situation, Ambazonian activist Kemi Ashu takes us down memory lane. She asks a pertinent question: who burned down the Manfei District Hospital? La Republic de Cameroon military set ablaze down Kumba Hospital because Amba fighters were treated there. The La Republic de Cameroon military ransacked and threatened to burn the Shishon Cardiac Center for treating Amba fighters. La Republic du Cameroon military wanted the head of Dr. Vinetus in Mambu Hospital on alert that Amba fighters were being treated there. They wanted to burn down the hospital, and the Reverend Sisters pleaded and informed the La Republic du Cameroon's governor. La Republic du Cameroon's military went to St. Mary's Hospital and forced their way in because Amba fighters were being treated there. They also wanted to burn the hospital, but the attention of La Republic du Cameroon's governor was drawn and they left.
Kemi Ashu didn't end there. She went further to say, La Republic du Cameroon's military has occupied schools and hospital buildings as their barracks, burned down houses, shot Christians in churches. However, Nambere can clearly explain to us who burned down the Mamfe District Hospital, just like he did with the Ekondo Titi school massacre, where La Republic du Cameroon military dressed in civilian attires and attacked the school. La Republic du Cameroon's military is carrying out all this arson to sabotage the Southern Cameroon movement, but they won't succeed. If someone can kill a 6-month-old baby, then know that burning a hospital is nothing to him. And then she concluded by saying, we all know the signature of Bia's military. They want to destroy any valuable and important thing in Southern Cameroon before leaving. You can watch the aftermath for yourself.
The genocide in Ambazonia has ranked world's third most neglected crisis. Can you imagine that, sir?
This is outrageous. If this is not an international conspiracy, then what else? The conflict between the Cameroons has appeared on the annual list of neglected crises as the third most neglected. This list was disclosed on June 1st by the Norwegian Refugee Council, an independent humanitarian organization which helps people forced to flee crisis. The list was based on 3 main criteria, which were lack of funding, lack of media attention, and lack of international political and diplomatic initiatives. According to the group, high insecurity accompanied by climate change and socio-economic repercussions of the coronavirus were 3 separate crises which persisted in the Cameroons.
The report revealed that growing insecurity and abuse on civilians forced persons of the southern Cameroon's Ambazonians to flee. Now, there is a quote here. It says, an attack on teachers, schools and health facilities continued, leaving 700,000 children unable to go to school. It's noted. But the evidence is out there for all to see. It also reiterated that the detention of aid workers led to some organizations suspending their programs, leaving more people out of reach. We have just seen how a hospital has been raised down by an army that normally should be protecting the people. It is, however, the first time that the top list features African countries only.
Reacting to this, Jan Egeland, Secretary General of the Norwegian Refugee Council, said that the world's most neglected crises are all in Africa, points to the chronic failure of decision makers, donors and the media to address conflicts and human suffering on this continent. The body recalled that 2021 was no different as aid funding was stagnated and international media attention remained limited in part due to restriction placed on journalists within the country. I must say this is a familiar worry of all journalists in Africa, Oni.
Yeah, when politicians are not proud of their actions, they don't want us to make reports. Let's investigate some other stories of great concern. Colonial La Republic the Cameroon military expressing their frustration having been abandoned and placed defenseless in the face of the ARFs. They complain in the enemy's language, French, that no petite attack had been signaled yet. Every detachment of the military in the West region, Bafoussam, or even the battalion in Kutaba, just 30 minutes to the scene, did not come to the rescue the situation.
The So No Pity was well armed with about 58 fighters, while colonial gendarmes were only about a dozen, out which some again escaped. They say the onslaught, leaving 9 gendarmes dead, could have been avoided had La République du Cameroun military surveillance taken necessary actions even by air. From every indication, all is not fine even with La République du Cameroun soldiers. They lack equipment and personnel, as those who suffered these attacks lament. No troops were able to come for reinforcement. Meanwhile, days before the incident, Colonial La République du Cameroun's military admits killing 9 civilians in Fungom local government area, Menchum County, Savannah Zone. In a communique signed Tuesday, June 7, 2022, spokesperson Cyril Serge Atonfak-Guemo, unit head for communications, Ministry of Defense of La République du Cameroun, admitted that the colonial soldiers, in the course of searching for one of theirs who was missing, unfortunately entered into a confrontation with the natives in Misong Aber village near Zoa Fungom local government area, which resulted to 9 civilians killed on June 1st and all buried on June 2nd, 2022 by the villagers.
The communique indicates that the dead included 4 men, 4 women, and an 18-month-old baby, and adds that the colonial military met a salvage-looking population unwilling to cooperate and so acted in self-defense by opening fire on the ambulance denizens, which resulted in these casualties, which includes a 12-month-old baby who was injured and taken to the Womb Hospital for treatment. The communique blames the colonial military for shooting unarmed civilians to death and states that the 4 misguided, unprofessional soldiers doing the service at the Amba Gendarmerie post who committed the massacre act have been disarmed and placed under custody in Bamenda for investigation. This happens to be the first time that the colonial La République du Cameroun military gives figures of their atrocity they have been committing on the home front on armless civilians, and the figure 9 may not be the exact number of the innocent civilians killed this fateful day. Remember that Ngabo, the colonial military, was talking of 7 deaths. Meanwhile, rights action groups had over 30 civilians, including children and pregnant women, killed.
Former ARF's FM No Pity and his men have attacked and killed at least 9 colonial gendarmes in Njatapon, bordering now in the La République du Cameroun's West region. At least 9 gendarmerie elements were killed last night in Njatapon, a border between Ngoketunja local government area in the Savannah region and Noun in the La République du Cameroun's West region. Sources say that Colonial La République du Cameroun Sub-Lieutenant Pismo Richard was killed in the attack by Ambazonia commander Mbashie Clement, popularly called No Pity, a former ARF's FM.
The incident occurred last night, June 7, 2022. Military intelligence had sent a warning alert in every unit around Balikumbat local government area and the border with La République du Cameroun's now division. The colonial forces got intelligence that no PT had arrived in Ngoken Tuja, and they asked all control posts and stations to be on the watch out. Unfortunately for the enemy and fortunately for the ARFs, the border post comprising Special Gendarmerie Intervention Forces, GPIGN, did not get prepared as they were ambushed and an onslaught took place. This particular attack of no pity has sparked controversy and divergent emotional reactions from the Ambazonian community.
Meanwhile, Ambazonian Restoration Forces testing and training their new high-tech weapons ready to smoke colonial and genocidal French Cameroon terrorist soldiers out of Ambazonia. Watch for yourself.
Jesus. Mark. Talk throws. Fuck throws. Jesus. I hear you. The first launchers.
India, Mark. Talk throws. Fuck those! Jesus. Jesus. I hear you. First launchers.
India, Mark. Talk throws. Fuck throws. Jesus. I hear you. The first launchers.
All right, right about now we have our analyst in the studio, Nijo and Party King. Please let's confirm that you can hear us here loud and clear.
Of course. Joe, good evening.
Good evening. Stan, I'm sure you have a question for them.
Yes, what do you think, the video that just played now, you saw it, what do you have to say?
Greetings. Comrade Paddy, can you hear me?
I think I can hear you now, very loud and clear.
Yeah, is that all right?
Yes, that's okay. Go right ahead.
Great. It's always a privilege to be here, and I start and pay my homage to you guys, and of course the wonderful team, and our restoration forces on home front, and all Ambazonians have tuned to ABC tonight. I'm privileged to be there, and I followed your clips. Ambazonians know me, and I know that they know what my line of interest and expertise in this movement is. I would be a novice as far as security issues are concerned, but I'm going to share this with you. And Comrade Paddy will be very, very, very versed of this. And I think most Ambazonians, I will not sit here and call names and make relevance of actors when there is no relevance. This is what they are seeking. But what I will say is this. We all watch football match. At my age, I don't know of a football match that takes place and you have three teams. A football match has two teams playing against each other. And in a football context, Comrade Padi, do you know what an own goal is? Lady Onye, do you know what an own goal is in a football match?
Oh yeah, when you
You
score
do.
yourself.
Thank you. So if I'm the goalkeeper and you're my defender, and you turn around and score against me, that's an own goal.
Obviously.
Comrade Padi, were you born by 1979? I'm not going to expose
No.
your age here. But what is the most famous own
No,
goal you
no.
know as far as the
I would have been happy
Ambazonians are
if I'm
concerned?
1979. I would have been happy.
Have you heard
Perhaps
of the
my muscles
expression
would have been bigger to
epese?
beat. I know. I've heard of Epese. Yes, Epese.
Epese, right? That's a famous. I mean, most Ambazonians who listening to me tonight would what that they have got a connotation epise, which is links us to what I'm trying to say here. When you score yourself, Lady Star, I know you're very busy, but if you score yourself an own goal, do you celebrate? Do you celebrate?
Not really.
Lady Star, are you with us? No, she's busy. Onye, let's go on. Do you celebrate an own goal?
No, not at all. Of course, you can't celebrate. You can't celebrate an own goal.
Yeah, though you have scored the goal, the other team celebrates, isn't it?
Obviously, it's a plus for them.
It's a plus for them. This is what we are seeing in this case. And in terms of the military, because it's a kind of a military thing, a war, there's what you call friendly fire. And just like in football, some own goals are accidental and some are on purpose. And the one that I was talking, that Comrade Padi confirmed, Epese, I think his own goal, we interpreted it as an own goal scored on purpose. And I take that scenario onto a war front where the Ambazonian war is. You've heard about friendly fires? Friendly fires in a war front is the same scenario with own goals.
Okay.
And they could be accidental and they could be on purpose. That's why I'm trying not to sit here and make relevance where it doesn't exist or call names of people for just waste precious time on ABC. So I see what most Ambazonians see what happened as a friendly fire done on purpose. There's no point celebrating. There is virtually no point. In fact, we're sitting here and I think your listeners would prefer or would enjoy this evening or saying something else. But sadly, in some situations of friendly fires, we'll have to spend some time and let them know that we know the game they're trying to play, because we have a very, very dangerous opponent. And if you have players on your side who are dumb or are easily bought over, okay, you could have situations where if you have a football team and you have players who are not professionals, who don't know what they're doing, they can easily be bought over and they can score yourself an own goal. You have in a situation, Ambazonia situation, ARFs, majority of the ARFs are brave, they're intelligent. But unfortunately, in my dialect, it said that when you have a big family, then you have all sorts of people in that family. You'll have the wicked ones, you have the thieves, you have the brave ones, you have the clever ones, you have the not very clever ones. That's what makes a big family. And if the Ambazonian family is to be looked that way, we have ARFs who are letting us down. One of the things we need to establish and Ambazonians know is whether these friendly fires are on purpose or are accidental. And to borrow the words of our CIC, if you allow yourself to be tricked many times over, The problem is actually yourself. It's not the person tricking you. Now, if we have friendly fires happening day in, day out, are you saying that they are not on purpose? I'll seek to differ. And in some cases, it is sad to say this, but we have genuine Ambazonian fighters who, at the moment, we don't know where they are.
Right, Nijo, let me comment there. You
And
know, now
the
talking
worry
about
is that
fighters who do not know where they are, I think I have a question right there. You know, but let me allow Mr. Tatu to actually answer that question. It seems like, from what Nijo has said, it seems like no pity is neither here nor there, because I mean his reactions can actually be said is neither here nor here as well. It seems to be mixed. Do you agree with me, Mr. Ta?
Yeah, I cannot as much as agree. Good evening, Onye and Star. You girls are simply amazing. As you were presenting your news, I was just in the comment sections on Facebook, and Ambazonians are so excited with what you're doing. Now, let's get back to the discussion. I think I cannot agree any less than what Nijo has said. There is a lot of cloud around this individual. Nijo is avoiding to call the name, but I'll call the name so that I can help people watching at home from others to really get to understand who we are talking about and what we're talking about, and the purpose why we decided to carry this story for the news today. There is a lot of cloud, dark cloud, hovering around this individual, no pity. There is evidence that he masterminded the killing of Insubu and has been creating havoc. He was one of the heads of the so-called Unity Warriors, Unity Palace Warriors, and within a very short time, more than 35 Amazonian fighters have been wasted. That's as many as we can count, because they were members of the Unity Warriors. And therefore, if you calculate what we have lost because of his initiative, we would think that the 9 in a neighboring country was really not a benefit for us. Think about it. You reported it. Cameroon killed 9, no pity kills 9.
Yeah.
You may easily want to feel that that is a kind of response from a genuine Amazonian fighter. But we are not figuring it out that way. Yes, Ambazonia is winning when Cameroon loses at any time. But there are lots of questions. And that's why if you go through the social media, Ambazonians are reacting to it in divergent ways. Some want to rejoice, but when they think about it, one of our activists says that, I think Rosalind says, he would have to do hundredfold more before he can win back the trust. But this is the technicality of it that I want to bring to Ambazonians in conclusion of my discussion on this. We had Anus yesterday trying to, as an opportunist, trying to raise money purportedly for no pity. That is disgraceful. That is shameful. That is mean of him. That is dishonest. That is thievery. And we also have intelligence that he is one of those engineering no pity to create havoc at the home front. We have that intelligence, and it's confirmed. He said it on his live television that he's in constant communication with no pity. But again, perhaps he is taking that to gain some reverence, should I say, some respect for the Coopers, some attention after the big win of the draft over the weekend. But that is fraud, because this is a man who was given 135,000 US dollars and he disappeared it. So it is a paradox to see him rise up one morning to insinuate, manipulating the television with a pretext that he wants to raise it for no pity. Now, before today, I think yesterday I spoke with the Secretary of State for Self-Defense, Francis Cheney, and he said to me that the interim government has no problem with any Ambazonian youth at the home front fighting to defend our people. The main issue they want with no pity. No pity should be willing and ready to admit when the interim government finances him of his initiative. And that is where there is controversy. So if you look at this person, no pity, he's trying to play games. Now nobody can categorically say where he belongs. And that's why you find Amazonians in their majority think that this guy is working for Cameroon, because his acts, the Bible says, by their fruits you shall know them. You understand? So his acts are kind of confusing. Okay, thank you.
Your first statement, you said something about no pity, masterminding the killing of FM Nsubu. I don't know if you want to throw more light. I got very interested when you made that. I don't know if Nijo should. Nijo, do you agree with Mr. Tar? Because this statement was in his first statement, where he said no pity masterminded that killing. Do you agree with that?
Well, yeah, thank you. It's an obvious backing to the own goals and friendly fires that I talked about. And again, this is us sitting here, and to call their names is making relevance where to, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't exist. And during the Isubu's mourning, there were clips. And don't forget that some Ambazonians can recognize the RFs physically, and they could tell from their voices that this is this person playing for this team, and this player playing for this team. They know. Sometimes some acts are a bit obvious, and to sit down and try and say you're trying to convince people, majority of the people know that this is what happened. It's a waste of time, waste of energy trying to cement what it is already, because everyone knows that this is what happened. This is a young fighter with a lot of potential that this government has spent a lot of resources training and providing material, resources, and even members of the team around him are trained by this government. And he turns around, and each time he looks for his own teammates or same people in the same war front, because don't forget, a war front has two distinct teams. It's Team A versus Team B. If you are in Team A and you choose to keep attacking people of your team, as far as war is concerned, that's friendly fire. You only a fighter when you attacked the other team. When you spend your time, your resources, energy attacking members of your own team, that is worse than not existing at all. And it's very worrying that we have this kind of scenario in a year that has been the most successful year of ours. And unfortunately, as Comrade Paddy said, a few former leaders take responsibility of this deviation. Because don't forget, sometimes you can abuse power, and an obedient child gets trapped into that. And we think this is a glaring example where someone uses power that was entrusted on them and is, misdirecting a subordinate. That is criminal. And because the subordinate can be argued that they are expecting instructions from the chain of command. And once they do that, and they say that, that's enough excuse for them.
All right.
To say, well, it is this person who is telling me what to do, or I'm going to listen to this person. It might not be clear cut. Again, the irrelevant names that I, I would rather not waste my energy
Don't
calling
worry
their
about
names.
it. Don't worry about it, Niju. We'll definitely come back to you.
Thank
Of
you.
course, I have more questions for you as the news continues. Just stand by. Now, GCE candidates worried as Colonial Ministry of Secondary Education MINSEC issued timetable conflicting with public exams.
That's another unfortunate story we would have to report today. It is important to highlight that these Ambazonians had to die for it to be implemented.
Advanced level GCE candidates have cried foul after the writing timetable clashed with that of the entrance examination into the government and private teachers training colleges in the country. According to the candidates, some GCE A-level candidates have successfully applied to write the entrance examinations while awaiting their GCE results.
According to writing timetables of the various public examinations, on July 5, 2022, while geography will be written at the A levels, the entrance examination sessions will also be going on at that same period, making it impossible for candidates sitting in for both exams. Students say they have tried public appeals for the amendment of the timetable to the Secondary Education Ministry to no avail. Quote, "We, the students concerned, again appeal to the Minister of Secondary Education to at least look into the matter and postpone the writing date of the entrance examination," students have urged.
We cannot ignore the fact that the immediate causes of the ongoing war in 2016 was when teachers protested against La Republic de Cameroon mismanagement of the educational system that is purely Anglo-Saxon.
We are closely following the development of this story and we will bring you updates as soon as they unfold. We got you right where we want you to be and think there is no better time to talk about the draft. As you already know, Nijo and Top Hardy are here to make some commentaries.
But first, let's go through this report sent out by the Resource Mobilization on Wednesday, 8 June 2022. It reads to all local government area and county leaderships, fellow Ambazonians, on behalf of your interim government, I would like to thank you for your generous contribution of $445,000 in favor of Amberland humanitarian. Your financial assistance will help us to continue with our goals to free motherland and assist our ARFs and our POW. Over the years, it is the benevolent act of committed people, the history makers like you, that have made it possible for your IG to help build our self-defense arsenal with capacity, which now includes rubber guns. The table below is for your records and to debunk the devils who claim these are fake figures. The Department of Resource Mobilization urge every history maker Ambazonian to note the figures for your constituents and ensure to redeem your pledge and prove them wrong, yet again with our action on the home front.
Award 22 National launch 4th June 2022. Zone County amounting total. Savannah, Boyo, 21,000 US dollars, 89,000 US dollars, 44,400 US dollars. Bowie, 14,000 US dollars, 30,000 US dollars 400. Donga Matung, 12,000 US dollars, Menchum 14,000 US dollars, 50,700 US dollars, Ngoketunja 28,000 US dollars, 22,700 US dollars, 142,100 US dollars. Midlands Lebulem 8,500 US dollars, 277 US dollars, 277,000 US dollars, Manu 37,100 US dollars, Mezam 114,400 US dollars, Momo 117,000 US dollars, Atlantic Faco 36,000 US dollars, 64,300 US dollars, Coupe 19,000 US dollars, Mei 7,000 US dollars, Indian 2,300 US dollars, 18,201 US dollars, 82,501 US dollars, stabilizations 14,703 US dollars, fund 669,604 US dollars. Award 22 launch grand total 445,003 US dollars. Note, because National Emergency Fund Drive. During these uncertain times, your government is carefully monitoring the ramifications for our fundraising events, including county drafts. Following our record-breaking Award 22 launch, raising well over 445,000 US dollars, Director of Resource Mobilization consulted senior stakeholders on a way forward. We also considered the following lines. Your draft, it is only as good as how much you pay now. A pledge is a statement of intent. A failed pledge is worse than no draft at all. Let us draft and pay as soon as now. Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako, June 2022.
We thought that every constituent needs to be made aware of how much funds their community has pending collection. The above amounts are more for some counties, including the NEFD pledges, gives a staggering total of 670,000 US dollars available to our counties that needs to be collected as shown on the table above. We concluded that rather than solicit additional pledges on top of pending pledges, it makes sense to delay the county draft until 2nd of July to provide support to local government areas and counties to contact all donors by the most personal means possible and assign outreach to members of your local leadership team to recoup their pledges.
The Director of Resource Mobilization will continue to monitor and plan subsequent drafts while making prudent decisions before we commit our desperately limited resources. We hope to be able to celebrate this achievement with you at the right time and trust that you will continue to support our important work to free motherland. Thanking you again for your relentless support. Thank you for your generous donations. Ambazonia must be free. Signed, Nijo, Director of Resource Mobilization.
All right, let's meet our analyst again this time around. Let's get to hear what they have to say, especially the Director for Resource Mobilization, Nijo. All right, so Nijo, when it comes to this time, I'm always very excited to see, because I'm sure that you have your calculations always right. Meanwhile, well done to your department for the success recorded already.
Thank you. Beautiful. I thought I was going to congratulate you for all the motivation, all the awareness that you did and the part you played in this. But I would also accept my own congratulations from your team. But I must say, I think you played a significant role for us to be where we are. Thank you also for painstakingly reading through that table. As far as numbers are concerned, you were very pleased to know that I have been a teacher of maths for about 25 years. So I can get a few things wrong, but when it comes to numbers, trust my numbers. And you can trust this one.
Very obvious. Yeah. But then let's go to this straight up. Now, there is a statement here by our very dear president, Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako. He says, your draft is only as good as how much you pay now. A pledge is a statement of intent. A failed pledge is worse than no draft at all. Let us draft and pay as soon as now. Now, I'm very much interested in this particular one. A pledge is a statement of interest. of intent rather. Now we have most of these sums all about pledges. Probably you would just want to let Ambazonians realize, especially those of them that made a pledge, to talk to them. Let them understand the need for them to redeem those pledges before the next draft.
Beautiful. Thank you, Onye. Thank you very much. You would have gone through the speeches, several speeches by our CIC. When he spoke on Saturday, and I had a copy of the speech in front of me, I struggled to find what was relevant for this piece of writing, and I picked those 3 or 4 sentences out of a whole literacy basket of very, very rich words that he puts together. So we are blessed with the wisdom that the president has. And just to refer to those quotations that you made, intent is if you have a long relationship with a gentleman and he proposes to you, until the wedding day, that's a statement of intent. So during this time we can map that over. We've got this relationship with Ambazonians, and we've been getting on really well. We need financial support, and somebody stands up, picks the microphone, and say, "I'm going to donate $2,000." That's a statement of intent. What we need to do, be the best of our behavior, just like the fiancé and the groom would be, so that they can manage their relationship onto the wedding day when the rings are exchanged. In this case, resource mobilization and the Ambazonian government, we are at our best. We have created a bank account, we've secured them. We are now appealing for all those pledges to say, please honor your pledges. And we were meant to launch the county draft soon after the national launch. But when we looked at the table that you painstakingly read through, we saw that there is a lot of pledged sums of money. And when you read through the NEFD, you may remember a couple of weeks back, was the National Emergency Fund Drive. Now, if you add all those sums of money for Bui, Ngokotunja, and Dian in the order that we did, and on top of this launch amount, then for Bui alone, you will see that's why there is the second figure down there under Savannah, 44,000. So Bui County at moment has 44,000 potentially, money that should be in their pocket, money that people have promised to give them. And so we thought, I'm just using Bui as an example, instead of leaving that money still in the pledger's pockets, and then we go to draft Bui again, that might take that to $100,000. Come on, it makes sense for us to get the $44,000 in the pocket first, carry on. The war is going on a daily basis, while we then can come back and ask Bui sons and daughters to say, please come and draft for your county. That was the understanding. And again, if you look at the total amount, when you say the zone Savannah, the total across extreme right, that says $89,000. That is the amount of money for the counties in the Savannah zone. $89,000. Make that $90,000. If we got that for 5 counties, then they're better off than us leaving the $90,000 in the pockets and then go hunting for more. Now, in my dialect, they says a bird in hand is worth many in the bush. Let us take care of the one we have in hand first. Let's nurture that, let's make use of that first, then before we can go looking for more. That was the basic understanding that we took on and said, let us make this decision, and we're happy, we're quite pleased that many Ambazonians have bought this and have seen that, logic it makes a lot of sense than just carrying on saying, oh, because we have sent out a schedule of the county drafts, which you had kindly read over your ABC. But this makes sense that we can. This is our house. We look at what is happening and we can change things as long as we change them orderly, and then people can adapt. So we're going to delay the county drafts and give enough time. And one of the things we're going to do is we're having a general APP tomorrow, so that we can form teams. Every county, we're going to have a team of people who are going to be phoning everybody who has pledged in their county. So the idea is to get a county chair, and this holds same for the LGAs, for the local government areas. So every local government area has the chairperson, the treasurer, the financial secretary. Now, these are the key three persons that we need to identify in tomorrow's meeting and say, it is your duty, it's your responsibility to contact every person who had pledged for your LGA to collect this money. And one good thing, Onye, is that the launch was the leadership drafting. You remember I came into your studio and explained that leadership means that it's all those people who are in power, all those people who are leading that community, the local government area press chairperson, treasurer, financial secretary, self-defense officer. So all the money that we pledged, majority of it is in the house, okay, is within the executive. So it's good for them to sit down amongst themselves and collect that money first before we go out of the house to seek for more support. And I hope I'm not taking much of your time, but that was the basic idea. And we're quite pleased that majority of Ambazonians have seen reason to accept that delay in the county drafts. Not even one county has complained, so we're fairly happy. Unless you've got, social media has so many pages. If you found any complaints anywhere, please, we can address them. But there is a very important meeting tomorrow, and we're inviting all leaders, county, LGA leaders, to come so we can go from county to county, highlighting those responsible to retrieve this money, and we agree a time period during which we draw the line and say, if we pledged $15,000 for your local government area and we're giving you 10 days and you haven't spoken to those people who pledged, then we're going to move on. But we expect that they would have spoken amongst themselves. Again, most of these launch funds were from leadership. So members of government, in cabinet, and the local leaders. So there are people in the house, they can speak to them very quickly and collect this money, and then we can move on. We have a target date in mind of the 2nd of July to start the county drafts, but this is tentative. We haven't given an excuse to delay so they can collect the money. It will make no sense if by that time we haven't collected the money and then we just move on. We're going to assess and see how much of this 670,000 has been collected, and then we can decide what to do. But our target date is the 2nd of July. And sincere apologies if I took much of your time.
All right,
but I hope you understand.
Yes, yes, very well. Star, you have a question?
Not really, but I think Mr. Paddy has something to add to that.
Yeah, basically, I think, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah, when it comes to mobilizing resources from counties, LGA, in fact, I would say Nijo, like he just mentioned, is an expert in that, giving the right figures and actually encouraging our people. I am much more concerned with public reaction and the way our people receive the information that has been given. We have an individual actually insinuating. When I was listening to Nijo, it was not quite clear. Perhaps he would have to fill in the gaps based on my discussion. If you realized the National Emergency Fund Drive, Nijo reported that close to 80% of what was donated or what was pledged had been redeemed. So that's important that we tell Ambazonians to inspire them and to inspire naysayers that are trying to sabotage the project of the draft and the fundraising initiatives. That Ambazonians are not just pledging, they're actually paying. So you
Thank
must
you.
understand that at least 80% of the National Emergency Fund drive have been cashed, and that's how Mr. Anu's brother Oli got 2 million US, 2 million francs CFA. That's how you find out that Bui County, Ndian, and Go-Ketunja were revived and sustained until this moment that we talk to you. And on Saturday, I was a part working with Nijo, putting the figures together. A lot of Ambazonians, what they pledged were instantly paid. And from that time until now, I've received receipts that I forwarded them to Nijo. A lot of Ambazonians are paying. So I'm talking this to our activists and all those watching and encouraging our people at the home front. Take note that while Coopers went with noisemakers, Dr. Sako went with stakeholders. And these are not people you find them making noise around. They are actually paying. They are willing to win the war. Perhaps Nijo want to give us some of the amount of money that were catched on that same day. Money that was catched on Saturday was quite enormous. It's mind-blowing, contrary to what I heard Anus was trying to say, not up to 50,000 was given. That's not true. Dr. Sako has proven and has broken the records of the only Amazonian leader since 1961 that knows how to frame strategies and to raise money. He doesn't just talk about it, he raises the money and Amazonians can feel it. It's dishonest for Mr. Arnold to tell his followers that up to 400,000 US dollars was raised for my trip to Boya. Perhaps he didn't just have an idea, but let's just consider that Amazonians couldn't raise that kind of money. If people do not have 400,000 US dollars, they cannot give you 135,000 US dollars that you have disappeared. So Anus alone, when he was managing ABC Amba TV, disappeared tens and tens of thousands. I'm talking about hundreds of thousands. So if Ambazonians were incapable of raising that kind of money, it just tells you how mean he is. So that's my concern. I think Nijo is the man with the statistics. I just want our people to be informed that the monies are actually in the account. As I speak to you, the National Treasury new accounts that have just been created are already inflating. They're inflating because money is pumping in from every part of the world. Almost every country of the world, money is pumping in. Nijo, you want to confirm with some statistics, please?
Yes, absolutely. If you can hear me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the most county that has paid cash is Momo. That's paid cash is Momo. Second by Mezam. And third by Ngokotunja. Okay. Now, the rest of the counties, every county has had minimum $1,000 paid. I can get you the exact figures from our treasury figures tomorrow and send them to you as a newscast if you don't mind, or I can come in. But there are a couple of meetings tomorrow that I may be involved with, but I can send them in. I can get these figures for you. But the total amount that between Saturday and yesterday, we're getting ready for this item that I missed yesterday, was 17,830 receipts that people have paid and sent. Now, there are some pledgers who pay and don't send the receipt because they know that it is recorded. These are receipts that have been sent in. People have paid their money and they send the receipts. 17,830. Now, again, I would not call their names, but out of desperation, and heard that these figures were faked. So, as far as they are concerned, if you pick the list you read out, he's saying that Boyo did not draft 21,000, Bui did not draft 14,000, Dunga Mantu didn't draft 12,000, Menchum didn't draft 14,000, Gokotundia did not draft 28,000, and that all of Savannah, those 5 counties did not draft a total of $89,000. That's what the empty vessels are saying. And then you add all of that to the rest of the counties, as far as they are concerned, they are fake figures. Well, I remember my mom used to say that it doesn't matter how much you like your pig, if you put the meal in a plate, the pig will knock the food off the mud before they eat it. Okay, there's some Ambazonians that their mind is so stained that it doesn't matter what you do to them, they always see the dark side of it. You're showing figures to people that these are the figures, you're reading them out, and they have an imagination that, oh, you're making up the figures. That's the sort of some Ambazonians that we have. What do? You just get on with the business and carry on. And we meet in Boya. We're all Ambazonians. We meet in Boya. We're there waiting for them. With the government, we will welcome every Ambazonian once we arrive Boya. And then we'll sit down and talk. Thank you.
All right. All right, thank you, Nijo. Thank you so much. So I'm sure that before the 2nd of July, would have gotten a more accurate sum. I'm sure that some Ambazonians would have redeemed their pledges by then. Kudos to your team on the success recorded, because I'm sure it's going to be a success.
You are part of it. Oh, yeah. On Star, and of course, Comrade Paddy and your entire team, Chivombe, and everybody. Commando, everybody in ABC is part of this team. It's a wonderful team, and we're ever so proud to have you ladies.
So much, sir.
All right, and we move on with the news. Now, this is a press release by the interim government. A press release by the interim government. It says, Misong massacre and the continuation of La République du Cameroon's genocide on the people of Ambazonia. The interim government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia vehemently condemns the massacre of 10 Ambazonian civilians in the peaceful community of Misong in Fungom local government area, Menchum County, on the 1st of June 2022 by dictator Paul Biya's genocidal thugs known as Battalion de Intervention Rapid, BIR. Our preliminary investigation, despite communication challenges, indicates that amongst the 10 compatriots indiscriminately gunned down that fateful day, there was an innocent 18-month-old baby girl who clung to her mother as the barbaric genocidal French Cameroon trigger happy thugs unleashed bullets at point-blank range, killing the innocent baby and her mother. 4 women, 5 men, and the 18-month-old baby were summarily executed just for being Ambazonians, Southern Cameroonians. Another 1-year-old baby girl was literally wounded and is in a critical state in the hospital.
Ambazonia is mourning. Our hearts go to the families of these innocent victims whose lives have been cut short by the excesses of dictator Biya's extermination agenda, manifest by the ongoing genocide and scorched earth policy towards the peace-loving people of Ambazonia, Southern Cameroons. This massacre is just one of the numerous massacres carried out by La République du Cameroon's genocidal army since dictator Biya declared war on our people on November 30th, 2017. the Ngabo massacre, the Menka Pinyin massacre, the Fangbali massacre, the Mautu massacre, the Boli Bakundu massacre, the Kondo Titi massacre, the Jamot Miami massacre, the Bakweri Town Sandpit massacre, the Kumba massacre, the Kwakwa massacre, the Bangem No massacre, the Ebonji massacre, the Meluf massacre, the Alucho Bakundu massacre, the Alatu Mankon massacre, the Bafut massacre, etc. are just a few of the documented massacres perpetrated by Bia's genocidal squads. The only difference this time with the Misong massacre is that the genocidal regime was quick to take responsibility. Through a signed communique by one Captain Atomfak Wemo, Serial Surge, press release number 0047/CP/MINDEF/019 of 7th June 2022 in an attempt to forestall and manipulate the narrative concerning the cause of this recent despicable atrocity crime on our people. These low-grade, heinous crimes only fail the resolve of our valiant Self-Defense Restoration Forces, ARF, to continue to fight relentlessly to free our homeland, Ambazonia. We assure our people that justice will be served to the enemy. Once more, we reiterate our call for the international community led by the United Nations to set up a fact-finding mission to investigate all the atrocity crimes, war crimes perpetrated by La République du Cameroon's genocidal military since 2017. Ambazonian lives are not less valuable than Ukrainian lives. The world cannot ignore this genocide in plain sight being perpetrated on our people while all attention is focused on Ukraine.
Once again, we affirm our commitment to the international endorsed Swiss-led process, SLP, endorsed by major world stakeholders geared towards mediation and negotiations, while reaffirming our determination to continue to defend our people and our territory until the enemy French Cameroon, La République du Cameroon, realizes that the only way to a just and lasting peace is through negotiations.
This press release done this day, June 9, 2022, has been read, ratified and signed by Secretary Martin Mungwa, PhD, FASCE. You can have this on our website right after the broadcast. The presidential visit on Thursday 9th, 2022 at 9 p.m. Amba time has been annulled due to some emergency situations beyond the president's control. Mesam citizens are hereby informed that a meeting has been rescheduled on Saturday, June 11th, 2022 at 9 p.m. Amber time. Sorry for the inconveniences.
And this is a special announcement. And now sports. Manchester City suffered one of the most remarkable Champions League collapses as Real Madrid came back from the abyss to set up a final showdown with Liverpool City, where 2 goals ahead on aggregate going into the 90th minute after Riyad Mahrez's strike had added to their 4-3 first leg win last week. And then Rodrigo happened. The Brazilian substitute turned home Karim Benzema's left-wing ball from close range in the final minute, with Real's very first shot on target, and 90 seconds later he leveled the tile with a header into the top corner after Marco Asensio flicked on Dani Carvajal's cross.
That sent an already rowdy Bernabeu into absolute euphoria. And so to extra time the game went, and it was Real Madrid who got the decisive goal in maybe the greatest Champions League semi-finals ever. Benzema beat Ruben Dias to a loose ball in the box and was brought down by the City defender. He stepped up to take the penalty himself and scored his 43rd goal of the season. That sets up a repeat of the most memorable Champions League final of the recent years when Real Madrid beat Liverpool 3-1 in 2018. Gabellison has more.
Latest world sports. Real Madrid to face Liverpool in the finals of the Champions League. Manchester City suffered one of the most remarkable Champions League collapse as Real Madrid came back from the abyss to set up a final showdown with Liverpool. Man City were 2 goals ahead on aggregate going into the 90th minute after Riyad Mahrez's strike had added to their 4-3 first leg win last week, and then Rodrigo happened. The Brazilian substitute turned home Karim Benzema's left wing ball from close range in the final minute with Real's very first shot on target, and 90 seconds later he leveled the tie with a header into the top corner after Marco Asensio flicked in Dani Carvajal's cross. That sent an already rowdy Bernabeu into absolute euphoria, and so to extra time the game went, and it was Real Madrid who got the decisive goal in maybe the greatest Champions League semi-final ever. Benzema beat Ruben Dias to a loose ball in the box and was brought down by the City defender. He stepped up to take the penalty himself and scored his 43rd goal of the season. That sets up a repeat of the most memorable Champions League final of recent years when Real Madrid beat Liverpool 3-1 in 2018. Lampard charged by FA for comments after Everton lost to Liverpool. Everton boss Frank Lampard has been charged by the FA following his comments after his side's defeat in the Merseyside derby last month. Lampard claimed Liverpool would have been awarded a sport kick had Mohamed Salah gone down like Anthony Gordon did in a challenge that referee Stuart Atwell did not penalise. Gordon, who had been booked for diving in the first half at Anfield, fell after apparent contact from Joel Matip, but Atwell neither awarded a penalty nor issued a second yellow card. The Toffees subsequently contacted the Professional Game Match Officials Board for a second time this season with concerns over the decision. Lampard said in his post-match interview, "It is a penalty for me. You don't get them here. If that was Mo Salah at the other end, he gets a penalty. I'm not trying to create conflict. It's just the reality of football." The FA has taken exception to those comments, citing an implication of bias and attacking the integrity of match referee or referees generally. An FA statement read, Frank Lampard has been charged with a breach of FA Rule E3 in relation to post-match media comments that he made following Everton FC's Premier League match against Liverpool on Sunday, 24 April. Frank Lampard had until Monday 9, May 2022 to provide a response. Gab Ellison reporting for Undaunted, ABC Amba News.
The number one most important thing for every Ambazonian to do right now is to draft. Draft and draft and draft. People of Ambazonia, draft.
Why the war draft is a must now. Fellow Ambazonians, after 5 years of relentlessly fighting for the liberation of our homeland from the genocidal occupation of French Cameroon, it's very important that we remember why we are fighting and why it's so absolutely necessary that we continue to fund the struggle by joining the war draft and making even greater sacrifices than before. When the United Nations General Assembly in Resolution 1608-XV of April 21, 1961, granted independence to the Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, they did not expect that 61 years after, this territory will be forcefully annexed and colonized by a belligerent neighbor. It must be noted here that the territory of the Southern Cameroons had already attained self-government as early as 1954, a status we enjoyed up to 1972, when the state of West Cameroon, Southern Cameroons, was illegally annexed, overrun and occupied by French Cameroon. And because the Southern Cameroons within secure internationally recognized boundaries, she had a functional police force under the direct command of the Prime Minister and head of government, including a mobile paramilitary wing that played the role of a territorial self-defense force. It was this vibrant territorial force that was illegally and surreptitiously disbanded by the Yaoundé regime in the mid-60s, when our nationalist leader and head of government of the Southern Cameroons, Bobe Augustin Ngom was overthrown by the creeping annexationist regime of Amadou Ahidjo. So as we enter another patriotic war draft and fundraiser for our violent restoration forces, we must remember that just as we restored Dr. Ndele's government on October 1st, 2017, we are also restoring our territorial self-defense force, now dubbed the Ambazonian Restoration Forces, ARF. Charged with not only the defense of our country and our nation, but also with driving out for once the occupation forces of genocidal Cameroon. Taking part in the war draft for our Ambazonian Restoration Forces is therefore a great patriotic duty that we must all embrace. As we speak, the country of Ukraine is under attack, with parts of her territory occupied by the Russians. We have seen how the Ukrainians have risen like one man to defend their territory, instituting a war draft that has prohibited men from the ages of 18 to 60 years of age from leaving the country. Not only are they not allowed to leave the country, but they're also compelled to take an active part in the defense of their country against the occupying forces of Russia. This is the same patriotic fervor that we expect from all Ambazonians now in fulfilling our sacred duty of defending and freeing the motherland from the genocidal grip of Cameroon's occupation forces. Thousands of our young men and women have risen since 2017, picking up arms and fighting the occupation forces to the death. We've lost thousands with many more injured, while thousands more are in the bushes fighting day and night to drive out the occupiers. It's therefore imperative that those of us, especially those in the diaspora, that are not confronting the enemy on the ground play our part and fulfill a sacred duty of drafting, raising the funds, and providing the logistics that our restoration forces need to resist the occupiers. Fellow Ambazonians, joining the draft and contributing generously is not a matter of choice for any Ambazonia, but a sacred duty to oneself, family, and the nation. They say sacrifice makes gods of men, makes us sacred, so let us do our duty now. Our President, His Excellency Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako, and the Resource Mobilization Department will be visiting each and every county soon for another round of the draft. Based on the current geopolitical atmosphere, this is a time for us to empower our restoration fighters on the ground to achieve some of our key strategic and military goals, to once more prove to the world that we are ready to not only reclaim, but to defend our country after liberation from any future aggression. By building a formidable, responsible, and credible self-defense force, Ambazonians will be proving to the world that we are a responsible state and ready to play a constructive role in the Gulf of Guinea. The rest of the world is watching and waiting to see how capable Ambazonians are in terms of establishing themselves as Africa's newest state. We must therefore make even greater sacrifices in our efforts to upgrade our valiant restoration forces as they lay their lives on the line to liberate Ambazonia. As a footnote, we must remember that it costs between $3,000 to $5,000 to properly equip each restoration fighter to effectively engage the enemy. So as we look up to our boys on the ground, expecting results from them, we must first ask ourselves how far we've gone to empower them. We must first ask ourselves how much financial sacrifices we have made to provide them the means to fulfill their sacred duties. Fellow Ambazonians, this is the time for us to draft until we drop. That must be our slogan and rallying cry now. And along the way, we should be asking ourselves some critical questions. Are we still enjoying 3 square meals a day while our boys on the ground lack the basic gear they need to resist the occupiers? Are we still living a life of luxury and comfort while our brave restoration forces lack medical supplies at the front? Are we still throwing big birthday bashes while our restoration forces lack basic communications equipment to maximize their efforts? Are we still going on cruises and expensive vacations while our IDFs on the ground go without food and logistics? Are we still finding excuses not to make the necessary sacrifices in drafting big while our restoration forces lack the game-changing equipment that they so desperately need to bleed the enemy? On a daily basis, how much are we putting aside for our liberation, knowing that only through fierce resistance are we going to liberate our beloved country? Are we providing the federal government and the CIC the means to carry out some of the critical intelligence and other special operations across the national territory? Fellow Ambazonians, as we ponder these questions, we must remember that a goal that is not funded is nothing but a wish. And we must not let Ambazonia die as a wish, because we fail to fulfill our patriotic duties by making the great sacrifices befitting of a great people. Fellow Ambazonians, the war draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No great victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices. We are enough, so let's draft, draft, and draft until we drop. Our existence as a people depends on that. The media greatly influences society. They inform people about what is happening. It permeates people's lives by creating their own criteria and opinions. In this way, the media moves the masses, creating different social movements.
For over 60 years, the people of Ambazonia were deprived of such privileges. The privilege to enhance their own criteria and opinion. They have suffered cultural genocide for 6 long decades, but not in this age and not with Undaunted ABC Amba News on board.
You must understand that wars are fought and won in the media. The speed of the revolution and Ambazonia's quest for freedom cannot be explained without highlighting the diligent use of the media.
Franco-Cameroon colonizers, among other strategic moves, weaponized the media against Ambazonia for so long, and they continue to do so even today. The question would be, how much do the oppressed people of Ambazonia need to counter the media rage?
Indeed, how much more is required to stop the genocide? The carnage in Ambazonia didn't start today. In 1961, 1972, 1984, 1992, Ambazonians were slaughtered in huge numbers and help was not forthcoming. Why? Because the oppressor was the piper in the media.
The good news is we have what it takes to dictate the pace.
Right now, ABC Amba TV is taking advantage of the wonders of multimedia aggressively
to inform the misinformed and disinformed with Undaunted and other revolutionary programs bringing it to the news untold stories.
Most importantly, to win the media war by taking ABC Amba TV into every multimedia platform.
In a word, where the importance of storytelling can never be overemphasized, Ambazonians has to tell her own story, not the other way round.
And like we say it always, Ambazonia must narrate her story accurately. We can do this together, you know, right? You are just a click away. Visit our website at www.abcambatv.com, and the steps are quite simple.
With just a click on the website, you can become a club member with so many benefits.
You can also make a one-time donation, advertise and showcase your goods and services at the marketplace on the website.
That was easy, right? You're welcome on board.
And thank you for opting for the winning team.
And with that sports report, we've come to the end of Undaunted tonight. But before we go, here is a recap of our major stories.
A Chinese naval base in Cambodia signals a new era of competition in the Asia-Pacific region. Last night, following exchanges of gunshots in Mamfe local government area, the district hospital was set on fire by the Colonial Republic du Cameroon military. Colonial Republic du Cameroon military caught on camera expressing their frustration having been abandoned and placed defenseless in the face of Ambazonia restoration forces. Meanwhile, No PT's most recent attack in the west region of La Republic du Cameroon, killing over 9 military forces, has divergent reactions from the Ambazonian population.
And in commentary, Tapa the King says that bravery of youth like No PT is our quest for freedom should be applauded and rewarded as well. But he also believes that Chris Anu's opportunistic in attempt to take advantage of Ambazonians by claiming to raise funds for No PT should be checked before he steals from Ambazonians again. Diplomat denies Amba attack on Nigerian territory. H.E. Bapa Lowell made the statement in an exclusive interview with the Guardian Post newspaper recently. GCE candidate worried as Colonial MINSEC issued timetable conflicting with public exams. The genocide in Ambazonia has been ranked world third most neglected crisis. And in sports, Real Madrid to face Liverpool in the finals of the Champions League.
And that was tonight's Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories.
On behalf of my co-anchor Stas Maj and the entire Undaunted crew, I wish to say thank you for tuning in. I am Onyi Opala.
We'll leave you with ABC Amba TV images. Stay tuned and have a good night.